Oh my god, you guys, I just did a breakdown of Paulina's monologue from The Winter's Tale and it made me cry a little bit, so yeah, check out that video if you feel like it. But for now, I'm looking at Desdemona's Alas, good Iago, what shall I do to win my lord again? From Othello. Oh yeah, this is Sarah. This is Shakespeare with Sarah, and this is where I break down Shakespeare for actors. In this video, I'm going to talk about the context for the monologue. I'm going to break down all the line meanings and talk about your acting choices. And at the end, I'm going to do a little reading. So putting it all together so you get how it can flow together. I probably won't cry this time. Just a heads up. Jumping into the context, I'm going to assume that you know a little bit about Othello because you haven't been living under a rock. So I'm going to talk about the scene rather than the play. In this scene, before Desdemona's big monologue, it's been very, very tense. Othello has really gone off at her and called her a whore multiple times. And for Desdemona, she does not take that lightly. It is really wounding to her. She feels really bad. So it's been a really big full-on scene. And then after Othello leaves, we kind of have like the aftermath and it feels a lot quieter. Desdemona's kind of numb. She has lines like, "Do not talk to me, I can't even weep, I have no husband." I'm paraphrasing, but it gives the impression that she is just in shock. And noticeably, Iago and Emilia start to talk and kind of argue. And I imagine that Desdemona's probably separated herself slightly and is just kind of internally processing everything that's happened. And then suddenly she goes into this big monologue. So keep in mind here that going into this monologue, she has just kind of snapped herself out of it and decided that she's going to do something. She's not going to sit back and just, take it. She's going to fix this. And she's going to Iago because, he's Othello's mate and surely he'll understand what to do. And she's being proactive. So that's a little bit to think about in terms of your mental state going into this monologue. It also starts with a half line of text, which usually means that it comes straight on the heels of what's come before. That means she's basically interrupting Emilia and Iago arguing. She's possibly going to move on the start of the line towards Iago. Definitely if you're playing with movement, and if you need help with your movement, I did a video on that to talk about how you can kind of put that into place, so I'll link that for you here. I would personally move towards Iago at the start of this monologue. In terms of some acting tips, the language in this monologue is pretty easy. Like, it's simple stuff that she's talking about, so it's pretty good for a beginner. The thing that's tricky is the phrasing, because she has kind of roundabout ways of tying things in together. That usually indicates that she's in a little bit of a disjointed frame of mind, which sounds about right. But what I recommend you do is really get a sense of where the beats are so you understand how the phrases all tie together. When I do the reading at the end, that will hopefully give you a little bit of an understanding of how those are grouped together. But do, go through your text, draw your lines, look at your beats. I also recommend, if you possibly can, grab a scene partner and run the scene before with Othello. So everything that kind of happens before this, because it's really going to give you a sense of where she's at mentally and emotionally. It is pretty demeaning language that he uses towards her, and it kind of comes out of nowhere, as we know with Othello. Like, there's no reason for it. So she is completely blown away. Someone that is usually so kind of poetic and beautiful and has swept her off her feet has suddenly come back with this disgusting language to describe her. And, amazingly, he still manages to be kind of poetic in his disgusting descriptions. This guy's got a gift. I think you need to know here, she's got no doubts about her own faithfulness. She knows that she is a faithful wife. She just is confused. She doesn't understand why he's got this idea. And she just, in going into this monologue, knows that she needs to fix it somehow, but she doesn't know how. So I would look at that as your objective, is like, I need to understand how I can fix this problem. Let's jump into breaking down all the line meanings for you. So she starts with, "Oh good Iago, what shall I do to win my lord again?" That is self-explanatory. "Good friend, go to him, for by this light of heaven I know not how I lost him." So by this light of heaven, that is just kind of an expression that means like, I swear that I don't know what I did. But notice how it's always like heaven and hell imagery. I'm sure that you've noticed that if you've ever studied or read or heard about Othello as a play, there are so many references to that. So the importance of that line is actually in its imagery. She is so pure and chaste that these are the words that she chooses. It's all about heaven and lightness. So let that inform your character and don't shy away from it. Enjoy the imagery there. "Here I kneel." Notice that comes at the end of the line. So I always recommend as much as possible to join the line together and pause at the end of the line. So kneel while you're saying it. Act on the line. These next kind of sections here is her swearing. So you got to do whatever you need to do physically to show, "I swear to you." So I personally, in performing this, kind of have in my mind the little kind of cue phrase, "I swear to you, if e'er my will did trespass against blah, 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 blah," because I want to give myself that feeling of like, I am swearing right now. I'm making a promise. This next section where she's swearing is actually one of the bits that I'm talking about where the phrasing is a little bit tricky, because she's kind of saying, and this is my paraphrase, "If I ever did this or that, or if I ever did that or this or this or this, then, let me live in a ditch." So I'm going to break the lines down bit by bit, but do understand that they all go together. "If e'er my will did trespass against his love, either in discourse of thought or actual deed." So if I've ever done anything to offend him, to sin against his love to me, even just thinking about it or actually doing it, or that mine eyes, mine ears, or any other sense delighted them in any other form, if I've ever even looked at anyone else and thought, "Hey," or if I've ever done anything with any of my other senses to notice any other guys ever, she's being very clear about this. "No part of me has noticed other dudes since I met Othello, or that I do not yet, and ever did, and ever will, though he do shake me off to beggarly divorcement, love him dearly." That means if I don't still love him, always loved him, always will love him, even though he's trying to throw me off here and, separate me from him. Comfort forswear me. And that's the kind of let me live in a ditch thing that I'm talking about. So why is she saying this? It's always good to ask why. She wants to convince Iago so he will help her. "Unkindness may do much, and his unkindness may defeat my life, but never taint my love." I find this bit a little bit interesting because it's kind of random to start talking about unkindness, right? I think you need to really tie it in very deliberately to what has just happened. So Othello, by her admission, has just been really, really unkind to her. That's the meanest she can be, is to call it unkind. He has been an outright jerk. He has been, I'm not going to say, because I would say a lot worse things than Desdemona, but this is as bad as she can get, is to say that he's been really unkind to me, and that it has really hurt me. It may do much means like it has an impact, and this feels like it could kill me, but it's not going to stop me loving him. So I feel like when I performed this when I was younger, I really didn't understand the impact of those lines. It's not random. She has just listed to Iago, like, "I swear I never did any of these things, and I swear I still love him and I'll always love him. It doesn't matter what he does to me. He can kill me, but he won't get rid of my love." And remember, that is massive foreshadowing, so that moment does actually have to land. She goes straight on to say, "I cannot say whore. It does bore me now I speak the word." She started to say that, I think, because she's just said he's been unkind to me, and it's made her think about what he said to her. So that to me would be my train of thought, is like, well, he just said horrible things about me, but it's never going to defeat my love. Wow, he called me a whore. And that's how the thought process tracks. And she's saying, now that I say it out loud, I really feel that revulsion. So feel it. To do the act that might the audition earn, not the world's mass of vanity could make me. So she's saying, even just saying it makes me feel disgusted. To actually do it, to earn that title, you couldn't make me for all the money in the world. So it is actually quite a powerful monologue if you really connect to it. As I mentioned, I performed this monologue when I was younger, and I really did not do it justice because I think I was too focused on making her so lovely and angelic, because she is in a lot of ways, that I didn't really connect with all the emotions that were going on underneath that made her a real living, breathing person. She's not just lovely, she's feeling a lot here. So she goes from, let's track the emotions before I do the reading here. She goes from, I got to do something about this, to, I swear it's not true. So she stands in her belief in herself there, and then moves into feeling the hurt of what he did to her, and then the revulsion of thinking about doing something like that. And then back to, I could never do this, I swear. And that's kind of where it ends. So it's very powerful shifts there. So do track the emotions as you track the beats. Let's read it. I want to see what happens. I'm really interested to see if I actually connect with it. I always say, you don't have to do it the way I do it. I'm just doing it so you get a sense of phrasing and all those things. I love you guys. You have a lot to bring to it that's not the same as me. Good Iago, what shall I do to win my lord again? Good friend, go to him, for by this light of heaven I know not how I lost him. Here I kneel, if e'er my will did trespass against his love, either in discourse of thought or actual deed, or that mine eyes, mine ears, or any sense delighted them in any other form, or that I do not yet and ever did and ever will, though he do shake me off to beggarly divorcement, love him dearly, comfort forswear me. Unkindness may do much, and his unkindness may defeat my life, but never taint my love. I cannot say whore. It does bore me now I speak the word, to do the act that might the audition earned, not the world's mass of vanity could make me. Whew, got there in the end. And I did feel a bit teary as well, so it is quite a powerful one, but man, that took me a couple of goes. I've got to tell ya. That was like take 4. Whoa. So the struggle is real, my friends. Simple language does not make it easy. Right, so I hope that was helpful. Man, it's a lot of work acting. It's not easy. It's not an easy job. Lots of feelings, lots of thinking. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing your auditions. I hope you're trying everything you can. Let me know what you're struggling with, because you know I feel it. Good luck with everything. I'll see you guys next time. Mwah, mwah, blowing kisses while the end screen comes on.